Okay, I think that's working. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Friend Leigh Show. I am your host and friend, Lee. I did it. I don't know. I'm just so proud of myself every time I do that combination right. So if you guys are watching in the or listening to this in the audio version, please come on over on Wednesday night, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, or whatever the equivalent is for you. And join us over on YouTube, Facebook, in LinkedIn, or Twitch, and join in on the conversation. That's always my favorite part of the show. So we are going to get started. I really missed you last week. And so because we didn't have a show last week, I didn't have great internet while we were in Mexico. And congratulations to Mike's mom and new stepfather, I guess. So Michelle and Rick, it was such a beautiful wedding. I'm so happy that we were able to go. And it was just amazing. So we are back, and today we are supposed to be talking about the theme surrender and looking at it through the lens of partnerships. But because we didn't do purpose last week, we're going to combine those. So it's going to be both the P's, so purpose and partnerships. And I'm going to kind of just go through a little bit. I'm not sure if anybody's here. If you are, let me know that you can hear me. I'm really hoping that it's working. I don't have a microphone on me, so it should be working. But I want to go through just a few things when we're talking about surrender, because as you guys know, the reason why we're doing surrender is because inside a book club, we are talking about the Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer, and it is so good. So we meet on Friday to discuss the entire book, and I cannot wait. It's at noon. If you want to come and join us in the conversation, if you've read the book, or if you're planning on reading the book, you can join us over in Happy School, and the link is below this somewhere. I think on the screen actually, and you can join in on the conversation. It is one of those books, I was just telling my girlfriend today on our walk, that I want to dive into a lot of the things that he has written, because it has already changed my perspective drastically. I've always known that life feels better when you surrender. And it doesn't mean, like, what I want to get clear is that it doesn't mean that you're being passive. I always talk about happiness comes from taking action, right? So it's not a matter of just being passive and just letting life pass you by. What it is life is unfolding. And when we try to control it and let life, happen on our terms, in our plans, with the way that we want it to, there is this like strangling, this stress, this tightening that happens. And when we're able to kind of just surrender to what's already unfolding, life becomes easier. It becomes more simple. Now, we might not always love the way that it's unfolding, but we definitely make things more difficult when we're trying to control the situation, because we don't have as much control as we think. And it's just an illusion. So I want to explain that piece of it so you understand what surrender means. It means just kind of the allowing of life to happen. And when we're able to do that, we're able to see more opportunities that end up happening, that come our way. And so there's actually science behind it. And science tells us, neuroscience, so the science of the brain, it says that, and I just wrote this down because I wanted to make sure that I got it. It was from a Harvard health study. Research shows that chronic striving, so like always trying to control and create this thing based on our own idea of how it's supposed to unfold, it activates the brain's stress response. And so it actually will increase cortisol in your body, which is a stress hormone. However, if you accept and kind of accept and allow life to flow through you, it activates the sympathetic nervous system, and that reduces cortisol, and it improves your decision making. So even from a business standpoint, we think, okay, I'm going to control this outcome. And by doing that, you have a harder time making actual real decisions based on what's happening versus what you want to happen. And you're more stressed out. And so if you're able to kind of slow down the process and not force the outcome, you'll notice opportunities in relationships that will feel naturally aligned with your purpose. So another piece is, since we're talking about purpose and partnerships, when we're talking about purpose, we really want to be thinking about and understanding what our purpose is. And we've talked about it on the show many times, that it doesn't have to be this overarching thing. It doesn't have to be this big life-changing thing. It's how do we want to show up in our life? And our life could simply mean, if you are in a heavy season in your life, it could just mean, how do you want to show up today? And what you'll find is, if you start looking at it like that and taking the pressure off, again, letting life flow, and you just know what your purpose is for that day, you'll start seeing patterns, because you'll start seeing you want to show up a certain way many times throughout the week, many times throughout the month. And then you'll be able to start piecing together, this is my purpose. This is what I'm meant for. This is what makes me feel alive. And so once we start taking off the pressure and just kind of allowing, we're able to find our purpose a lot easier. So the practice of surrender, we can discover what feels just inherently meaningful. And then it frees us from all of the shoulds, all of the societal norms that are telling us that we should be a certain way, we should act a certain way. And instead we can be, everybody talks about being your authentic self. And I was having a conversation with one of my girlfriends, and I was like, if you're trying to be your authentic self, you're still trying to do something, and you're trying to be what you think you should be. And so that whole language around it really makes it that it's tied to societal norms, or it's tied to something you've seen that you would like to aspire to be, but it may not be your journey. When we were in Arizona, we met up with one of Mike's dear friends and his wife. And his wife is like the coolest chick I have ever met. She is so awesome. And like, as soon as I met her, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be her. Like, just super like cool and chill and like adventurous and beautiful and all of these things. But as I'm sitting in it with her, I'm like, I don't want to be her. What I want to be is, I want to be who I am, just fully unapologetically me. And so I could have said, that's my authentic self, is being more like her, because I really resonated with her, because I really loved her idea, the idea of her. But that's not who I am, if that makes any sense. So if we're trying to be any certain way, even if it is authentic, it's not truly who we are, because that will just unfold once we start taking the pressure off. So we're going to be able to build more resilience. We're going to be able to reduce anxiety, all of these things, by just allowing. And then the same thing happens with partnerships. And this is where our partnerships, it becomes very difficult, right? Because we want people to live their best life. But usually when we say that, whether it's about our kids or our siblings or our parents or our friends, we think their best life is according to our values, is according to what we see for them. We see their potential. We see the way that we would like them to be. And that is not their journey. That is not allowing them to be the people that they are going to be. And so once we kind of loosen our grip, then the relationships can thrive, because it creates an atmosphere where people can truly be themselves. And, we talk all the time about these societal things that are shaping our behavior, but we also kind of create it in our own little nuclear families, in our own little bubbles of friends, because we're all kind of having this mask, because we don't want to be ashamed of who we are, because it's different from other people. And so once we kind of loosen that grip, we're really going to be able to step into real true connection with people and grow organically in those relationships because we're able to show our true vulnerable state. um, and that is what creates deeper trust. We talk about like all these things that we can do to create trust and connection and bonding and all of that. And the best way to do that is for us to come at every relationship the way that we are, allowing and allowing them to be who they are with no expectations. And so I feel like surrendering is also just lowering your expectations or removing your expectations altogether. Inside the book, one of the really cool things that he talks about is one of the first lessons he had to do is take away preference. So a lot of the times, we have a lot of things to say about everything. We have a lot of things to say about the weather. We have a lot of things to say about what we're doing, why we're doing it. We have a lot of things to say about the food we're eating and we don't eat. We have a lot of things to say about the music we listen to and we don't listen to. And because of all these preferences, it shields us from allowing life to unravel the way it's supposed to. And so one of his first experiments that he was doing was simply when he would go outside and the weather would be whatever the weather was, he would just allow it and say, wow, look, it's raining, instead of, oh, it's raining. Of course it's raining again. I wanted to meditate outside. Yeah, okay, well, it always rains when I want to do something. I hate the rain. I don't like walking in the cold. Whatever these preferences are, it shields you from allowing yourself to live into the life that's being unfolded. The same thing happens when we're confronted with food. Well, I'm not going to eat certain things that are on the menu because I don't like it. I don't like the texture. I don't like the smell. I don't like this. And even that, you might say, well, no, that's really innocent because I do have preferences and I do want to eat according to my preferences. But there's something very beautiful about surrendering to life and just allowing the chef to make your meal and just say, you know what? Whatever the chef wants to make me, I would love for that to happen. And do you know that 90% of the time, if you go to a nice, obviously, if you go to Wendy's or McDonald's or something like that, you're not going to get the same thing. But if you go to a nice restaurant and you say something like that to the waitress, that, you know what, why don't you let the chef decide? 90% of the time, you are going to get something off the menu that's really creative, super delicious, because the chefs want to be creative. They don't want to be stuck to a little menu. But in order for you to really enjoy that, you've got to release all of your preferences because they may use herbs and spices and ingredients that you normally wouldn't like. And so you're able to open up to these beautiful experiences. And that's the same thing with all of life. The more preferences we hold that we need to adhere to and life needs to adhere to and we need to control, the less we're able to just enjoy life as it unfolds. So, what other notes did I make? I think that's pretty much it. I had a little bit more on the science end of it. It's all good. It's true. Go look it up on the internet. Go and Google and ask questions about if you want to get more into the science behind surrender, acceptance, when it comes to purpose and partnerships. There's a ton of information out there because science is really starting to really understand that our brain is so phenomenal. We have not touched what our brain can do. And so our ego and our control and our wanting safety is really a lot of the time shielding us from the richness of life that we could have. It's hard to do. And that's why this book, it's called The Surrender Experiment, because it's really difficult to do because we have not been trained to just allow. We have been trained to live a certain way and try to control and try to manage our entire life. So here are just a couple things that I put in here that, might be helpful for you. And you can pick one or two of them if you want. But I always like giving you practical, tangible things that you can do to experiment with these things that we're talking about. And so one of them is doing a daily reflection. So we talk about this in Happy School all the time when we're doing the daily happy reflections, looking back at our day, looking at all of the 5 pillars, also looking at our gratitude, all these kinds of things, right? But what you could do is you could spend 5 minutes a day in the morning and ask, what is truly mine to control today? What do I truly need to control today? And the more that you ask yourself that question, the more you're going to realize there's not much that you have to control. You can kind of let life unfold. Okay. The next thing is that you could have a release ritual. You could write down all of the expectations, all the shoulds, all of the things that you think you need to do because society is telling you, or you might not even think it's society. You might think it's you, but it's because you were raised that way. And then you could write them all down, and then you could safely discard them. And people have done it where, they've burned it in a bonfire, or they've, ripped it all up. And you could do something like that and symbolize the act of surrendering, just giving that away. I'm no longer needing to have these shoulds and expectations. And then the next thing is the partner feedback loop. So you could practice giving your partner, whether it's your romantic partner or your creative partner, your work partner, space to speak, contribute, and co-create without judgment. So a lot of the time when people in our life are talking to us, a lot of the time we're not listening. A lot of the time we are just looking for an opportunity for them to take a breath so we can jump in with our opinions, with our preferences, with our judgment. And instead, we could practice allowing them to speak and for us to kind of just co-create in the moment, but not based on our control or our wants. Just see how the flow goes. So let me go and see if anybody is here. We're having trouble streaming to Facebook. What? This may be an issue on Facebook's end. Is it possible the stream was ended or deleted on Facebook? We'll keep trying. Oh, well, that's a bummer. Okay, so sorry, we may not have people that are watching on Facebook, which is a super bummer. So let me see. That might mean that we might not have people here. I don't know. Mel is here. She says, hey, my beautiful friend, just got home from work. Okay, awesome. Hello, hello. I'm glad you're here. Is your hubby here too? I don't know. So yeah, so it's possible that it's not streaming to Facebook. Bummer. Okay, oh well, who cares? Mel's here. It's all that matters. I do the show. It's so funny. When we were away, people were like, oh, how many people watch your show? How many people connect? How many people? And I said, you know what? I don't actually look at the stats. I don't know how many people watch in the replay. I don't know how many people are streaming it online. All I know is that I find these super important. I find these topics really important to be talking about. So if anybody, if one person, if Mel is watching this and enjoying this, then that's all that matters to me. I want one person to be able to get value from this. And then I want them to share it, not even on the platform. You don't have to share the link. Share what you've talked about and what we've talked about when you're at the water cooler at work or when you're in line at the grocery store. Just start having these conversations with each other because I think it's super, super important. So Mel says, Britt is in a race at the moment. He's iRacing. Oh, awesome. Okay, bummer. I want him here, but I'm super happy that he's iRacing. I know that brings him super amounts of joy. So Mel, it may just be me and you. I know that there's other eyeballs. So if you're watching and you're just afraid to comment, that's totally okay. But we are going to do the lightning round questions here. And I've copied and pasted this. So I've got all three, and I'm just going to do all three at one time. And then we're going to read them, and then you can answer one at a time. Okay. So the questions are, 1, who do you need to simply allow to be themselves today? Okay, so either today or tomorrow or in general, who do you need to simply allow to be themselves? Okay, number two, how does your body feel when you're in a state of surrender versus a state of control? Have you ever felt like you were in flow or in the state of surrender? If you have, I'd love to hear what you think your body feels like when you're in one versus the other. And then three, what's one playful experiment that you could do to test surrender in your life this week? Okay. So, Mel, if you want to answer these, or the other eyeballs, if you guys want to answer these, that would be awesome. And I will start answering them. So, for me, number one, who do you need to simply allow to be themselves today? Okay. So, my sister's listening to this right now, and she's going to say, don't include me. But she just said, that's okay. I need to allow her just to be herself. We have had a lot of fear around what's going on, and we are so nervous that, like I told you guys in the beginning of this, when we're looking for safety, when we're looking for, things seem out of control, we try to control even more, and it just doesn't work. It just does not work. And so I know this to be true. And yet, when you're confronted with some very scary things and you're in fear and you're looking out there at what could possibly happen, you fall into control. And I've been doing that. And I have conversations with Jen all the time. I'm sorry, I'm going to do better. I'm sorry, I'm going to do better. At least now I can see when I'm doing it, and then I soften. And then we keep going. But so that's who I need to really just allow to be themselves and do the best that they can do, and that is it. And it's a constant thing that I am constantly saying that I need to do. And so it's one of those things: surrender, acceptance, lowering expectations or removing them, loving ourselves. They're not one and done. They're not just saying, okay, that's it. I am that way now. It is a constant experiment in life that you are going to be thrown, like things are going to be thrown at you that are going to test all of that every day, you know? And so that's what it is for me. Mel says, I need my family to be themselves at the moment so that I can sit back and observe. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. It's a really good way of, actually, it's a really cool way of looking at it, Mel, because then if you allow them to be themselves, you can observe who they are. That is really, I like that piece of it too, because then it gives you action, not only in the allowing, but in the viewing as well. Very cool. So number two, the question was, how does your body feel when you're in a state of surrender versus control? And Mel says, two, my body feels relaxed and at peace when I surrender. Yes, awesome. And how does it feel like when you're in control? Do you feel you're a very faith-filled woman? So I'm curious if you feel like you're controlling situations still, or you're just kind of you do the surrender and just allowing and let God do what He's doing. So I'd be curious about that. Same thing for me. I feel not only relaxed and at peace, at the same time, I feel energized. So when I am in surrender, when I'm in flow, everything seems to be coming at such a beautiful, like, just take the next step, the next step, the next step, the next step. It's almost like this beautiful dance that happens when you're out of here and you're into here and you just allow. And so that's what it feels like for me when I'm surrendering. When I'm controlling, I feel very tight and I feel very on edge, and I don't feel like I'm dancing. I feel like I'm like chugging along and trying to, like, Mike calls it white knuckling, where you're like holding on so tight that you just like, you won't let anything in. You can't see anything. And that's how it feels for me when I'm controlling. It does not feel good. And all of the science behind it about how, you're in this mode of complete stress and higher cortisol, It's absolutely true for me. And then the third question was, what's one playful experiment that you can test surrender? Why isn't it showing? Test surrender in your life this week. Okay, so Mel says play Uno or do a Thanksgiving fun activity with junior high kiddos. Oh, that'd be cool. That'd be really cool. Oh, and then she elaborated and said in number one, that's because I need to decompress. So with the family. Okay, very good. I like that. I like that experiment that you could do. That would be really cool. I feel like we could even do that experiment at Thanksgiving with family. Just have like a fun little thing of just letting go. And also, you could do the experiment that you just allow things to happen instead of trying to control every moment of the day, every ingredient that goes in, just kind of enjoy it and go with the flow. Mel also said, controlling to me is like me telling my students, come at me, I've sharpened my elbows. I love you, Mel. I love you so much. So if you're watching this, if you were watching this in the replay and you did not comment and you did not share your ideas with that in your lightning round answers, I would love for you to do that. Just go back. It's just like maybe 5 minutes. Go back and answer them because I think it's really cool to get to know each other on this kind of a level. Every week we have a different pillar that we're looking at the theme in. And next week, we're going to be looking at surrender and youthfulness. So this whole idea of playfulness, it's going to be really interesting. And I feel like you have to have a level of surrender when you are being youthful because you're being curious and all of these things. So we'll talk more about that next week. I really hope that you're going to bring some friends. I always like to pretend that you guys are here in my living room. We're all sitting around the couch and we're just having this conversation. What's happening in the comments is always my favorite part. And so I really hope that you show up next week when we'll be talking about surrender and youthfulness. And if you haven't done so already, come on over to Happy School. I would love to have you. It's a free community. And then we do have a premium membership that you can join if you want. It's $22 a month, way less than $1 a day. So we have some really good meetings. We just had our weekly mastermind, and we got to meet a couple new people all on video, which is really fun. And so we have really good conversation, not only about the accountability, but also things that we're struggling with, which is really awesome. And like I said, Friday, we are doing the book club and the conversation is going to be amazing. I know it because it always is. And this book just has so much value. It's wild. Mel says, my son has cooked supper tonight. I'm relaxed now and my shoulders have a lot less tension. Awesome. Well, I hope that did you already have dinner? I'm assuming. Cooked as in past tense. So that is amazing. That's so wonderful. And that's a really good message to moms that, you know what, just allow, we don't want them to do things because they can't do it as good as us. They can't do it as fast as us, but they'll never learn unless we just allow and surrender to what will be. So I love you guys so, so much. I hope you guys all have a wonderful week. I will see you next Wednesday, unless I get to see you at Happy School. And then I will see you tomorrow. All right. Good night. Bye. Please say hi to Britt for me, Mel. Okay. Love you guys. Love you too. Okay. Bye-bye.